This is also going to be another important topic connected, in fact, to the first topic, fighting cybercrime. So our moderator for the discussion is a very experienced person in cybersecurity domain, Professor M. Sethumadhavan sir. I request all the panelists to join to start the videos. Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Over to you, sir. So sorry, I've just introduced our moderator. So Professor M. Sethumadhavan is a senior professor and the head of the FACT Center of Relevance and Excellence in Cybersecurity, an R&D center at Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham Coimbatore campus since its inception in 2005. So with decades of experience in the cybersecurity domain, he leads the R&D at Amrita on the areas such as cryptology, post-quantum cryptography, stack analysis, secure coding, computer network security, digital forensics, etc. A central focus of his work has been to create innovative educational and research programs and develop world-class expertise in cybersecurity as the underlying mission. Over to you, sir. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining today.
Thank you.
Can you please enable my camera, please? That means blocked by the host. If you can enable it. Varun, Kapoor, yeah, got it. Okay.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon. See, this panel is discussing about latest what is happening in the cybercrime and its attacks, fighting cybercrime basically. Just for an introduction for the audience, like any other invention in history, you can see the internet came with its advantages and disadvantages. Little did the founders know their creation will be used someday to harm, destroy someone. Today we can see that various dangerous things are happening in the cyberspace. Using the web, the criminal part is generally we call cybercrime. See, my view is the brilliant ideas of scholars at universities, usually used to develop tools by the government or industry. At the same time, these tools will be used by the criminals against the society. The very strong technology helping our lives secure is a disadvantage to us for fighting the cybercrime. We have efficient methods for securely writing the data in the disk. The same technology is working on the other side against erasing the data. Also, by looking at this on digital evidences, and it is difficult for us to recover the erased data for collecting the evidences. So the situation is like this. When the topic was mentioned to me, I was remembering an article published in 1996. The title was a topic of cryptovirology, and later it came as a book in 2004 titled A Malicious Cryptography by top cryptographer Moti Young and the Young. See, the public key cryptography started a little earlier, but in this 1996, in this book, there was a special article was mentioned, or special statement was mentioned on that, which I remember I read 100 times now. It says that public key could be placed on a virus so that part of its payload would be to perform a one-way operation on the host computer that could only be undone by the private key held by the virus owner. So this statement they gave mentioned in 1996. During that time, nothing was nobody know about crypto ransomware. Nobody at that time have the understanding in that. In fact, the same concept used by the terrorists or not terrorists, people who used crypto ransomware later after 10-15 years. So you can see that the original theory was developed for something else, but that is misuse. Similarly, I remember David Chaum is a professor. He was in 1981. He developed a concept called mixed network. And this mixed network is developed later used for the anonymous payment system. And that led to the latest trend people are using for dark web transactions. in my opinion, all the cybercrime and these are all now it is because of these two ideas, that is anonymous transactions of the money, and the other thing is like bad use of the cryptography. So now these things we wanted to discuss today. So this afternoon, I am joined with the three amazing panelists who are working in this area: a technologist, a police officer, and an advocate. All of them had made a significant contribution to cybersecurity and work for fighting cybercrime in their career. Let me introduce the first panelist, Dr. Varun Kapoor. Dr. Varun is a senior IPS officer. He is graduated from REC Trichy with a BA honors in mechanical engineering. He joined Indian Police Service in 1991. He is currently ADGP, Armed Police Training College, Indore. He received several awards: President's Police Medal for Meritorious Service in 2008, Union Home Minister's Medal for Excellence in Training in 2017. He was awarded honorary doctorate for his contribution to cybersecurity by Indore University, and he has delivered over 100 training lectures at premier training institute like National Police Academy, Hyderabad, Northeast Police Academy at Shillong, Internal Security Academy, Mount Abu, Madhya Pradesh Police Academy, Rajasthan Police Academy, Academy of Administration, Bhopal, ITPP Academy, PSF Academy, Indore, Police Radio Training School, Indore, and a number of universities and schools across the country. In the area of cybersecurity, he oversaw the Black Ribbon Initiative for Cybersecurity Awareness among community members. Till date, 525 sessions across India in schools, colleges, institutions, organizations, departments, etc. Over 75,000 citizens made aware in an hour-long, highly interactive sessions. These include sessions outside India like Japan, Singapore, Malaysia, Dubai, UK, etc. He received many awards for his contribution in cybersecurity. The list is many, but I thought I will pick most prominent in that. Data Security Council of India Award for Best Cybersecurity Capacity Building for Law Enforcement Agencies in India. All India IT Association Honor for Outstanding Contribution for Cybersecurity Awareness across India. This list is not comprehensive. He has published books, lot of journal papers and all. Okay, our other panel member, distinguished member is Sri Prasad Pattabhintandla. Mr. Prasad is a McAfee Institute certified social media and threat intelligence professional and EC Council certified computer hacking and forensic investigator, having various cybersecurity skills, including cybercrime detection, networking protocols, penetration testing, vulnerability assessment, digital forensics, OSINT, cyber laws, and IPR infringement. He is currently the director at Center for Research on Cyber Intelligence and Digital Forensics, consultant analyst for Government of India for an MHA project, freelance cybercrime analyst to the Central Detective Training Institute, Hyderabad, Ministry of Defense Organizations, Ministry of College of Electronics and Mechanical Engineering, and various state police. He received MTech from JNTUH and PG Diploma in Cyber Laws and Intellectual Property, right from Hyderabad Central University. Our third panelist, Sri Prem Kamath, is a law graduate from prestigious Government Maharajas Law College, Kochi. He is a holder of master's degree in constitutional law, a lawyer practicing in the High Court of Kerala with 2 decades of and plus standing at the bar. He is passionate about cyber crimes, cybersecurity, data privacy, e-commerce, social media, digital marketing, and allied. Clearly, information technology law is a niche practice, and he has made an immense impact as an expert with international exposure in providing workshops, training, lectures contrived based on targeted audience. He is a frequent lecturer to academic institutions, law enforcement agencies, the IT industry and corporates. He has been an invited speaker at various national and international conferences, seminars, workshops related to cyber law and other subjects. His area also includes drafting policies, frameworks, and regulations in various aspects of IT law, mainly for the government and private sectors. So welcome to all the distinguished panel members. Namaste. The panel that we will take around 40 minutes for the discussion, and there will be last 10 minutes. The question answers will be from the audience. So, am I audible? Just for confirmation again.
Yes, yes.
Yes, thank you. I have a first question to Dr. Varun. Hello, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Sir, please introduce us to the cyber crimes, which are becoming the biggest threats to the citizenry the world over, and what would be your advice to all for preventing such crimes occurring on them?
Thank you so much, Mr. Setu Madhavan, and good afternoon to all participants in this webinar. What a very important topic for this 1 hour, that is cyber crime and its prevention and its how do we deal with this cyber security matter. I think it's I will talk from the perspective of citizen cyber security. There are a lot of other wings of cyber security, like cyber war is there, and then corporate cyber crime and all that. But I will be only referring to the citizen-based cyber crimes, which is a big becoming a big challenge. If you have seen the NCRB figures, which were released a few months back about crime in India 2020, in that it is clearly said that the cyber crime has increased from 2019 to 2020 in 1 year by 85%. That's amazing increase. No crime increases like that. Believe me, I'm a police professional with 30 years experience, and I worked all over the world as a police officer in 5 continents, not only in India. I can tell you this, that if a small crime like theft, simple theft, 379 IPC, if that increases at this rate, you know, somebody's cycle is getting robbed, somebody's pocket is getting picked, small kind of theft, if that increases at this rate in any city, in any region, in any state, in any country, the whole country, it will be difficult to live there. You know, the whole area will be, people will leave that area if that small kind of crime increases at this rate. But cyber crime is increasing so rapidly, and there is no way that we are being able to check it. The citizens are helpless in a way to, you know, save themselves from it. So it is a very, very difficult topic, and I think it's one of the biggest challenges to public security in today's date and time. That is cyber security, ensuring security for citizens in the cyberspace. It is really a challenge, and the time which is coming ahead is going to become a bigger challenge. And that's why it is something has to be done about it emergently. And there are minds thinking, there are procedures being put in place, and I hope it will be dealt with in a better manner in the time to come. But at present, it is a very big challenge. And for me, I have seen, as I said, cybersecurity all over the world in 5 continents, as I said. And if you ask me, it will be one of the biggest, it is the biggest challenge to human security or to citizen security in today's date and time. So we better talk about it. Most of your audience, I guess, are students. So I will refer to them, and I'll try to, it's a very big topic again, cybercrime, how many types and how to prevent. It's a huge field. I can speak on it for 2 hours because my sessions are based on that. But it's a very short time, 10 minutes. I'll put it in a nutshell, how much ever I can squeeze in it so that people get some idea of what I'm meaning. See, cybercrime for citizens, I can divide it into 3 broad categories. You know, one is the financial aspect of cybercrime, the financial cybercrimes which are occurring against citizens. This is a very big section, I think, of the cybercrimes which are affecting the people, the finances, the financial part, losing money. So I'll talk about it first. In this also there are subdivisions. Just to introduce you, one are the ATM-based cybercrime, you know, the machines where you put your card and take out the money, and the ATM-based cybercrimes. One is skimming. Skimming is putting a card reader on top of the slot where you introduce your card, and then getting the information of the magnetic strip. Then the miniature video camera is somewhere around. It will film your PIN number, and as you leave the kiosk, the criminal will come, remove that card reader, and then download the data and put it on another card. and a ready card cloning, that's cloning the card. And then they have the PIN number and virtually they become you. So this is one aspect of the cybercrime, which is a big challenge, the ATM-based crimes. The second is the phishing and spoofing-based crimes. This is a huge aspect, and this is happening there are areas in the country which are, becoming centers of such, like you must have heard about Jamtara. Now, Jamtara is a center for phone phishing through phone calls. People get all types of calls, they're conned in all types of ways, and money is taken. Now, there is another place near Patna in Bihar, which is becoming the capital, the center for spoofing of the IDs of the profiles of people, and then conning other people from their friend list, etc., and then taking money from them in various ways. So this is the phishing and spoofing based crime which I was talking about. Phishing based crimes, generally they can do scams. They can give calls, or they can give emails or SMS, whatever, on basis of that you'll get a job, you'll get a maybe lottery, or maybe some relationship and all that. On basis of that, they scam the people, and then they ultimately take money from them. The other is the phishing based are the OTP centered attacks, where they try to take your OTPs and they try to make you put your PIN numbers into some website and all that, this paying portal, so that your money is transferred. So OTP based crimes, phishing crimes generally, and so a PIN number, trying to con the person to put the PIN number into a pay portal, and then the person feels that he's going to get the money, but ultimately the money is transferred from his account. So these are the phishing and the spoofing based crimes. This is another part of financial crimes, along with the ATM crimes. The third, I would say, is the virus introduction techniques which are being adopted by these criminals to introduce some type of virus or a malware into the device of unsuspecting citizens, and then taking their money from, based on the information that they receive, that virus may be a spyware, maybe a backdoor or a rootkit or whatever, and then you get the information the person types or whatever, and then using that you get the account numbers, the passwords, whatever, and then they transfer the money. So these are the virus introduction things. They can be done by various ways. They send links, phishing links. They might send take you to fake sites and make you put your information there. They might do other ways so that they can introduce the virus into the device. Of course, this virus is not only for financial crime. This malware introduction can be used for many other types of crimes, which you have heard the various things which are happening, Pegasus and all that. So, but virus introduction is one major section of the financial cyber crimes, can be used for the cybercrime, financial cybercrime. So this, and I can talk a lot about it, but let's make it short so that it is not very long. So the financial aspect of cybercrime is this. The other aspect which I can say, the second type of cybercrime which is occurring is based, I call it the social cybercrimes, especially against children, against young people, youngsters, college students, against women. These kind of crimes are very prevalent, against senior citizens, against professionals. They have a different tailor-made crime for different people. Like I'm talking about something like cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is a social cybercrime, which is happening a lot with children and women and even college students. Then there is cyber stalking. Repeatedly following someone in the real world is stalking, but when you do it online, it is cyber stalking. Repeated missed calls, repeated friend requests, whatever. In Indore, where I am based, there was a crime very recently in which one girl used to receive one friend request every day from one person who used to study with her in some college. She didn't know him, but he was he used to like her a lot, one-sided love or something. And she used to get that one friend request every day, and she used to reject that one friend request every day, thinking, who's he? Who's that person? I don't know. But she didn't see the danger, but the danger was there. And one day he accosted her in an intersection, busy square, and then he stabbed her to death. 38 times he stabbed her. So cyber stalking, big problem, especially for women and girls. I have seen no cyber stalking case in my career which has affected a male. Cyber stalking, exclusive crime against women and girls. You have to be very careful. I always say, don't ignore stalking. If you ever feel it might be just a missed call, it might be just one friend request repeatedly, but you can't ignore it and say, oh, there's nothing much, let's forget it, it'll finish. No, it will not. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. So you can't take a chance, you have to report it. You can't ignore it. So cyber stalking. Then there is online grooming. This is a very big problem, which especially for children. it leads to pedophilia and all this based on a thing called social engineering. Engineering the information of the person, then befriending the person through some means, and then grooming, and then blackmail and bullying and everything follows. And it is a big problem for children, especially for women, especially, and many crimes are being reported. I just was reading a case of Mumbai, in which it started in Pune, where a guy was apprehended for doing grooming for a minor girl. He went to jail, he came out on bail, and this fellow then shifted to Mumbai. After 6 months only, when he was arrested by Mumbai Crime Branch, just see what he had done in these 6 months. In 6 months, he had they got multiple devices from him. In those devices, they found evidence of 17 fake Instagram accounts. Instagram happens to be the social networking platform of choice of youngsters nowadays and children. So 17 fake Instagram accounts. And through that, in 6 months, this fellow had befriended 800 minor girls. Can you believe it? 800. And when forensic analysis of his devices was carried out, 700 obscene photographs of these 800 girls were found. And what is the time frame? 6 months, 180 days, 800 girls. Just imagine. It's nearly 5 unsuspecting minor girls a day. It's amazing. People are so unaware and so prepared for these kind of crimes. It's really shocking, and it's something has to be done, as I said. So cyber grooming is a big problem. Online blackmail is there with men. That is also there. Cyber spying, putting the spying devices all over in the cameras and all that, and then doing other type of crimes. So these kind of social crimes, they start online and ultimately they end in the real world. So this is the second broad category of crimes which are there, of cyber crimes which citizens are being attacked with. And the third, I would say, are connected with cyber hygiene, the habits of people who use these devices, who use these services, who use these systems. That also is, those crimes are also many, like password. Password is a very big issue. Password protection, making weak passwords, sharing passwords, that leads to a lot of crimes. People are totally unaware. They even hand over their devices to other people, and then always remove this thing, put this app in it, and all that kind of thing. And people are becoming victims of all sorts of crime. Cyber hygiene-based crime. Another thing is selfies. I believe it's a cyber hygiene issue. Taking too many selfies, many people are being killed taking too many. They fall into waterfalls, they fall into tiger cages in front of trains, just taking a selfie. It's a hygiene thing. Cyber selfie-itis, WHO says, is a disease. It's a disorder. And if you what they have classified it is like, if you take more than 6 selfies and post it online, you are suffering from a disorder called selfie-itis. So this is another problem. Then there is another problem of online gaming. This is obviously not a crime, but for the youngsters, for the children, this is a big problem. This is connected with cyber hygiene, because then they are committing, many children are going with depressions, many children are, suicidal. There's so many cases there's a district in Madhya Pradesh called Chhatarpur. There, a 13-year-old boy was given a smartphone by his dad for online classes during COVID times. Now, what online classes he did, don't know, but he became a victim of online gaming disorder. And then he started taking loan from people, and ultimately when the loan amount became a lot, he started using his mother's debit card, and she didn't even come to know OTP and all that. He used to keep using, and once her account was finished, then he started taking loan from people, and ultimately the poor guy committed suicide, left behind a suicide note in which he said, "I'm sorry, mommy." That's it. A waste of a life. So, and then violent behaviors on others. This is also another result of online gaming disorder. Cases are coming in many. In my city, one case came in which an 11-year-old boy murdered a 5th standard girl because she beat him in an online gaming activity. And those photographs, if you ever see, you can't believe that an 11-year-old kid can have that mentality, that he can kill another girl with that much brutality. Where is that mentality coming from? It is coming from the content of these online gaming activities, So these are the various sections of cyber crime which are affecting society: financial, social, hygiene connected crime. I would describe it as that. And finally, the second part of my question: how to go about dealing with this? And my experience, my knowledge, and my cases which I have seen in front of me, and my research or whatever I've done in this field, I can tell you one thing: there is only one way. And I always say it, for cybersecurity today, there is only one way, and that is the awareness of the citizens. There is no other way. Like in the real world, policing this real world, I've been doing it for 30 years. There are so many procedures in which we can try to prevent crime. Citizens can do something about it. Family members take measures. Society takes measures to protect the citizens. The government makes policies. There's so many systems, so many people trying to protect citizens. They themselves are doing things from morning to night. This is the real world. And but still there is crime. There's still all type of offenses. Still there are so many criminals and crime. It's still not gone. In virtual world, there is nobody who can protect you except your own awareness, your own alertness. And then this awareness and this alertness leads to your security. I can give many examples of that, but time is not there. But it is so simple, because we are the citizens, or we ourselves are making mistakes online in the virtual world and then becoming victim of crime. That who can prevent us from making those mistakes? There is no system as of today, and there is no person who can sit with you all day and tell you not to make those mistakes. The only person, the only system you have is you yourself. And you yourself will protect yourself when you are aware. Awareness, friends, is also a very tricky thing. People think awareness is only knowing. When you know some things, you are aware. Sorry, you know some things, you are knowledgeable. But when you put those things into practice, then you are aware. Knowing and doing. People feel only knowing is awareness. Like wearing a helmet, everyone knows is good for your own security. Wearing a mask for your security, very good. But still, people don't wear it. So they know, but they are not aware. So I believe that people should know the things of cybersecurity, and then they should do those things. And that is the only way to ensure the security in cyberspace. And one last thing, if you have to take some tips for security, then this is one which I can give you, a 3-stage protocol, which I have seen and I have developed over the years. I feel it is very good if you actually do it every time. First is secure your information. Most of the crime occurring on citizens is based on the information given by they themselves. 24 hours we leak information about ourselves, like, share, post, forward, talk anything on phone. We keep doing anything without bothering who's using it, who's seeing it, who can do what with it. It's just a habit. We are just into it. So we have to secure your information, because you're leaking it yourself. Most of it, not all of it. Most of the information which forms basis of cybercrime on us is given by us. So who can do something about it? It's us. So you have to secure your information as far as possible, one. Second is, I always recommend this, in the virtual world, please do not have any contact with the unknown. If it's unknown, you better have no contact. It may be very safe, no problem. That's what unknown means. Unknown phone call, no contact. If you have an unknown kind of email, don't download any file. If you have unknown source SMS, don't press any link. If you have an unknown person giving you a friend request, don't accept it. So it's like that. If you have to do it, and you have to do it every time. First, this is the second thing, no contact with unknown, and every time. And third is, even if it appears known, you have to verify. This is a virtual world. Anything can be shown to you. It may not be true. It appears perfect. My friend request to you. I'm there. My name is there. My photo is there. So many things about me may be there, but it doesn't mean it's me. Doesn't mean it's me. So you better verify. If you don't know me, reject it. If you know me, then give me a call. You have to make that effort. Find out whether I have sent that friend request. Because I'm saying this because a few months back, my fake profile was made by some criminal elements, right? And what do they need? They just need my photograph and my name, and the profile is ready. And they can keep sending friend requests to my engineer, some information from my public posts, and then send the friend request to them. And you can get friend requests with the phishing attack. And so people pay, people give money, people do all sorts of things. So please verify, even if it appears known. You have to make that much effort. Security is not free of cost. I believe you have to invest your effort. So these three things: information security. Second, no contact with unknown. Third, even if it appears known, you must verify. If you do these three things, at least you will take the first few steps towards cybersecurity for yourself. This is what I have to share in a nutshell. I think some information, some idea has been given. I think I can hand over to Mr. Sethu Madhavan for the next part of this.
Thank you.
Discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Varun. And we have been developing technologies for against cybercrime. Again, our challenge is to convey or pass on this to the users. But as a university, we will be still trying to do it. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Prasad for what about your take on what Dr. Varun told and your own perspective about the technology for against cybercrime.
Yeah. Thank you, first of all, Amrita University, for giving me an opportunity. And Dr. Sethu Madhavan sir and my guru, Dr. Varun Kapoor sir, also there with me. I was very happy for that. Yes, exactly. Sir was very nicely discussed about the cyber security, why people are being prey to the cyber crimes. Very, very nicely quoted, sir. I was very like it. That is called knowing versus awareness. Really, sir, that is real. Everybody should understand the how to we can implement until unless implementing the cyber security policies or cyber security practices, the crimes cannot be stoppable. So I was already sir was mentioned very beautifully all the crime scenarios and how to we can able to protect those crimes. I am taking the little other angle regarding because of most of the people are academicians. So how to we can able to stop the crimes, for example, where law enforcement agencies are really facing a trouble while they detecting the crime. So what how the academic can able to contribute to the law enforcement agencies across the country, what kind of algorithms need to be designed, what kind of programming softwares need to be reconsider while we create it, and what how do we can change it from prototypes tools to applications level. So in this way, first of all, we'd like to understand, like sir was mentioned, and previously I have seen the one more panel discussion. They are particularly focused on the crimes against women and children, the crimes against frauds, the fraud related crimes, or might be you take it the organized crimes. But what if you are observing the crime scenarios, how if earlier like harassments or maybe bullying, sir, the trend is happened from then to now. The trend has been again, it was reinvented from harassment to bullying to then go to revenge porn to there is a new techniques name is called swatting, trolling, catfishing, revenge porn, and this is the new trends are happening in the cyber crimes. So we are how we are at this still we are at the like harassment and bullying investigation, but the crime modus operandi has been changed. People are using this swatting method while they're committing the crime. People are using the like catfishing method. They want to compromising the victims with respect to women and children perspective, or they are using the kind of revenge porn methods. This is how we are seeing at the like with respect to crimes against women and children. Then you take it as another new level that is called frauds perspective. Earlier, like a Coca-Cola name, you got the prize and there is a email is coming. That is a kind of phishing emails are there. Like previously, now the trend has been changed. Like Dr. Setu Madhavan sir has rightly mentioned, the crypto ransomware based attacks are happening. We are seeing since like past 6 months, the country has really under cyber attacks through Chinese servers. If you are believe or not, very everywhere, like the ransomware driven cases are so much happening in the form of the KYC investment. Due to the post-COVID scenarios, many people are they are trying to doubling their money. They are investing in the KYCs. Through the KYCs, lot of money they transfer to the Bitcoin form, and the money has been sacked away by these people. This is another organized crimes are happening across the internet, and particularly the people are. It's not as just online platform. The physically and generally people are really financially, mentally, psychologically they're getting disturbed like anything. And the third scenario is crime, not only crime against person, property, and also crime against government also. The government also being a part of the system also being prey to the cyber crimes with respect to like the attacks are happening. Like if you see the Kadamkulam is one of the example. Last 2 years back, we have seen Kadamkulam power plant got attacked by the ransom kind of cyber attacks. So we have seen not only just crimes against person or organization, but also government also being prey to the cyber crimes. In this scenario, how academic is being help to us to combating these crimes. For example, if I was a faculty or I was a professor to teach some kind of my students where they are going to conducting the third year, 5 year related projects, I have to teach them when you are taking the greedy algorithm or divide and conquer algorithms, or you take it as any kind of programming algorithms, whether I can use the, like, for example, there is a person is trying to creating exactly as was given the one exemplary. The exemplary is one person regularly sending the request and try to harassing through by sending the friend request. So such a way, how can I able to parse the algorithm? How I can able to create a query? I can able to crawl the indexing. I try to identify the indexing by using techniques by all Facebooks, by using Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn or anywhere. His footprints are there. If I'm able to crawl and try to index it, and if I'm able to create a report, so that such a applications, if we are design it, definitely it will help to the law enforcement agencies so that they can able to figure out the person very short span. That kind of programming applications we have to be adopted. We are known. So I mean, Dr. Varun Kapoor sir is a well-known person internally. Like we are importing the forensic tools like anything. The cost of the crores rupees, millions of rupees, sir. Our government is investing for getting the tools. There is indigenous tools. Our academia is stopping at the just try to identifying the prototype tools. If it's the prototype tool converted into real-time application, definitely it will be help to the our government, and it will be understand the Indian-based scenarios, Indian-based crimes, Indian-based solutions. Definitely it will help us. The same way, if you are able to, the technology also, how that not only used by the people, but also criminals also, they are very aware. Earlier, they are using their own photos, but they changed the photos. Like the photographs they will take, and they're using the Photoshop tool, and they try to morphing, and the morphing photographs, they just viraling it across the country. But the things has been changed. Now they are using the cheap photos tool that called the cheap fakes tool. Deepfakes are came. The deepfakes where behind the like a simple artificial intelligence and machine learning driven algorithms are using so-called GAN algorithms. By using these GAN algorithms are there, try to creating the photographs, videographs, or maybe voice over also they creating, and they try to propagating by using the Hoax news or viral news. In these scenarios, are we are using the same artificial intelligence or machine learning? Can I able to identifying the where is a deep fake or cheap fake, where the how can I able to detect it? Such algorithms, if academia is able to take it as a project, definitely it will help the law enforcement agencies to fetching the identifying the accused or it may be criminals. The third scenario is like there is a trend, his name is called calls. The calls is the one of the big area where a lot of crimes are happening across the country, of course, world also. For example, like manual calls, like PSTN calls, or we call it as a general calls. The calls are, every citizen can understand if I'm using these calls, I can be able to, the law enforcement agencies can able to track me. Then they're using the so-called social media like WhatsApp calls or messenger calls or Viber calls. When they're using a voice over internet protocol based calls, if academia able to come up with, can I able to crawl the social media applications or Google Play stores and try to identify the what application is belong to this number, and I can able to go back to their server level. If you are able to indexing such a kind of applications or such a programs or such a projects, they are take it by the any academia or Indian, it will be from IITs to or like a reputed organization like Amrita University. Definitely it will be help to the detection part, not only for awareness, definitely required for proactiveness and reactive. Definitely, though we are giving a lot of like Dr. Varun Kapoor sir, like eminent people, they try to explore the people by giving the advisory to all the people. But still, there is a crimes are happening. There is a victims are there, and they lost their might be money or property or maybe their reputation. When they lost their reputation or maybe properties, then how to we can able to detect. Early detection is very important. So if you want to come up with early detection, definitely we require a kind of like academic related like importance is important. Then go to early detection is important for our law enforcement side. Then go to how to we can use the like a laws, how to we can apply the laws. I think Advocate Prem Kamu sir will be explain much more on the law perspective. These are all the model until unless the technology, academic, enforcement, and the judiciary, if they come up in the one particular bucket, there is a challenges will be. The challenges will be continue. Thank you, Dr. Hope I'm stopping. One more our panelists there. I'm pausing here.
Thank you.
Over to you, Professor.
Thank you, Mr. Prasad. As you rightly mentioned, the AI is used both by terrorists and both by people like us. So that is a challenge. Again, like Dr. Varun was telling about password. Every 6 months, we will have to change the password, and everybody has to keep at least 10 password in the mind. So we should develop technologies where from one password you can remember multiple passwords. These new technology only will help us for protecting against the cybercrime. As you rightly mentioned that Amrita University is including most of the technology what you mentioned in our syllabus and curriculum for our MTech cybersecurity as well as our BTech cybersecurity program. So thank you for giving the updates on what is happening recently. Now I have we heard from a technologist and we've heard from a police officer. Now we would like to hear from a practicing advocate, Mr. Prem. And in most general terms, I can say cybercrime can be in two ways. When computer is used as a weapon and sometimes uses as a target. As an advocate, your challenge in general is to properly present your digital evidence before the learned judge. And sometimes you will have another challenge also to protect an innocent individual, I can say like me, if you will, who are wrongly framed by the police officers sometimes. For example, if someone can prove his innocence by providing the evidence using Google Map history that he was not in that city when the crime happened. I would like to get your views on this, and if you have time permits, if you can explain the audience and us the importance of the IT Act. For example, Section 43 and 66 of the IT Amendment Act for the data theft. And I'm aware that it is also punishable under the Section 378 and 424 of IPC. And also, I'm aware that the Section 426 is for against the damage in the computer system. So the old IPC and the new that IT Amendment Act, can you give in layman like us in terms you can explain to us? It would be nice, Mr. Prem.
Thank you, Doctor. Welcome to all the panelists once more and all the people who are joining us today. The area which has been put to me is again pretty vast. It traverses from digital evidence to the IT Act, vis-a-vis IPC, and then coming to sections which are probably overlapping, and also clarity on Section 43 of the IT Act vis-a-vis Section 66. So with the limited time I have, I'll try my best to give a bit of a clarity on that. Now, with regard to digital evidence, of course, I would prefer not to go very deep into it because it's a vast topic. But yes, challenges today in most of the crimes that come before the court of law, because somewhere or the other, you have a digital element which is involved. And once that comes into play, of course, for bringing something material before the court of law as evidence and then proving it. Now, before that, making it admissible is a huge aspect and a huge area and a very serious and critical area. Once it's made admissible in the sense it is acceptable in the process of law to be taken in evidence and then to prove is the aspect which I'm trying to connect. That's something which is, although the Honorable Supreme Court has brought in a lot of clarity with the judgment in Arjun Pandit Rao, this was the area in which the Honorable Three Bench of the Honorable Supreme Court had provided clarity, saying that when the original device is produced before a court of law, in that case, the requirement of any additional certifications under Section 65B of the Indian Evidence Act is not required. However, a bottom line or a rider says when it comes to secondary evidence or secondary form of evidence, well, you're required to follow and comply with Section 65B certification. Of course, without confusing all of us here regarding the intricacies of 65A and B, but yes, there has been a clarity and there has been a decisive ruling saying that how evidence can be made admissible. Admissibility is one aspect, proving is another aspect. Dr. Sethu Madhavan just made it more interesting by saying what could be a scenario where probably a person who is who's framed into a crime and he needs to show his innocence. So prima facie may be, of course, without going to the details of the aspect Dr. Sethu Madhavan just suggested regarding Google Map. But yes, Google Map might not singularly be enough to prove the innocence, but yes, it in appropriate manner, if it is brought before court and if the court understands that it is relevant and it is admissible, yes, to a great extent, it could provide more clarity to the facts that the prosecution's case bears some suspicion. And if we keep in mind as layman, we keep in mind the jurisprudence which we follow in criminal law, is that the burden is on the prosecution to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. So that's a huge responsibility on the prosecution. That's exactly why many laymen might not understand why, despite a lot of things being given out by media in certain cases, but why does the verdict become something which is not expected? So the area here, which is the technicalities of the case, is not known to the layman. It is only laid threadbare before a court of law. So the jurisprudence of criminal law is to prove a case beyond reasonable doubt. If there is any bit of suspicion that is probably highlighted by the defense lawyer, that could come out in a great way to create suspicion and provide a benefit of doubt. So Dr. Varun, I'm sure, might have had many instances where he would have sincerely followed up the trail, linked up the various evidence available, and brought it out in the most possible admissible manner. But somewhere or the other, if the defense manages to bring about a situation to show, well, something is missing here, and that makes it suspicious and not clear or does not provide clarity, well, that minute aspect could sort of inspire the honorable judge to believe, yes, something is not in place. And if that is not probably covered appropriately, despite the interference of the court, and the court is not satisfied, that one bit could be enough to leave the accused. And I could imagine how Dr. Varun would feel when an accused goes free, despite the fact that the maximum care and awareness and caution had been taken from the law enforcement side. So these are very critical areas. I'm not going deep into the legal aspects of it because we are not lawyers here as well. And the second aspect is with regard to the IT law and the IPC. There is a lot of material available online on the public domain, which creates a lot of dialogue and a lot of confusion, a lot of gray area with regard to offenses which are probably similar, which are there in the IT Act as well as in the IPC. I would like to tone down and cut it down to very simple words. We have the IT Act. Of course, I would take a disclaimer. Most of us would understand IT Act as a cybercrime law. But the intent of the legislature for creating the IT Act is not for cybercrime. In fact, it is just to facilitate e-commerce. So if we read the preamble of the Act, I mean, I'm not a student of law, but even curious as a netizen, if we read the preamble of the Act, it is basically enacted to facilitate paperless transaction and facilitate e-commerce transaction, as well as online facilities by the government to the netizens. So the concept of e-commerce is writ large. Of course, there are chapters in the IT Act which deal with cybercrimes as well. But just to let you know that it is not an enactment exclusively for cybercrimes. Having said that, to come to Dr. Setu Mahathwan's the question regarding section 43 and section 66 of the Act. Well, I'll take section 43 first. It comes under section 9 of the IT Act, and section 43 is nothing but which provides light as to the civil compensatory aspects of scenarios that is dealt under the IT Act. It is only with regard to civil wrongs, in the sense something has been done wrong to you and you have suffered a damage to it, and by attracting the provision of section 43, you could claim damages and compensation. But there is a flip to it, and there's an interesting part to it. If we read section 66 of the IT Act, section 66 says, if I could just read for the benefit of all, it just states, computer related offenses. If any person dishonestly or fraudulently does any act referred to under section 43, he shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 3 years, or fine which may extend to 5 lakhs or more. We can keep away with the extension of fine and etc. But please be aware of the initial terminology. Whoever dishonestly or fraudulently does any act which is mentioned in section 43. This is how 43 becomes more important in the aspect of crime. As I said, section 43 only deals with the compensatory civil aspects, but when does it come and attract the criminal aspect of it? When there is a dishonest and fraudulent intent. So the concept of a mens rea or a guilty mind, which is one of the basics of the criminal jurisprudence. Of course, there are a lot of offenses where you are made liable even without the mens rea part or the guilty mind part. But yes, a common aspect is that you should have a guilty mind. Now, having said that, I would reflect back to section 43. Now, section 43 is very interestingly termed. It might look very simple, but it has a lot of depth into it if we deal with it. I'll take maybe a minute just to have a fleeting look at it, and I'll probably limit myself with regard to data or data theft, since Dr. Sethu Madhavan just said about section 378, which is defining theft, 379, which is punishment of theft, vis-a-vis 424, which is concealment of property, etc. So I'll just connect that with data. Now here again, it's not very simple to understand the intricacies of provisions of law. It needs to be taken into mind of every word, every comma, every punctuation. You know, it's very intense and it's very tenacious. But yes, coming back to 43 read with 66, when does it get attracted? Section 66 says when a person has a dishonest or fraudulent mind and commits any act which is mentioned in section 43. Now coming to 43, if any person without the permission of the owner or any other person who is in charge of a computer system or computer network, A, accesses or secures access, and they give a reason. So with a dishonest and fraudulent mind, if anybody without the permission of the owner or any person in charge of the computer system or computer network accesses or secures access. So we are somewhere discussing unauthorized access or access in excess of authorization. Now, this aspects get attracted only when you have a dishonest or fraudulent intent of act. Now, coming to data theft, I would suggest we need not get confused with regard to the overlapping sections between the IT Act and the IPC. Now, please bear in mind, IPC is a very old enactment. And then, when the IPC was enacted, the internet was probably not existing. But keeping that in mind, the IT Act is a special enactment which addresses data specifically. Section 2, subsection 1, clause O defines what is data as per the IT Act. I'm not going into it, but just giving an idea. So when we have an act which is special, and the way the law progresses and the law states that when a special enactment comes in, it basically overrides a general enactment. So IPC is a general enactment with regard to offenses, but yes, IT Act with regard to data, I'm specifying data. Of course, there are other aspects as well, but with regard to data, we have provisions in the IT Act that can deal with data theft. So if I can just go straight to it, in section 43, subsection 43 clause I. So keeping in mind, if any person without permission of the owner or any other person who is in charge of a computer system or computer network destroys, deletes or alters any information residing in a computer resource or diminishes its value in any diminishes its value or utility or affects it injuriously by any means. This terminology is something which we need to pay attention to. Well, it does not term itself as data theft, but if we read it through, we could probably, in a given scenario, with the facts available, bring in data theft to it. So any aspect of section 66 read with section 43 needs to have a dishonest and fraudulent intention to attract the provisions of section 43. I think with this, I would wrap up my initial response by saying that when we have sections in a special enactment like the IT Act, we need to focus more on it rather than get confused with the general enactment as an IPC. Of course, on a debate, we could go on it later on, but to make it simple, the law also says that the special enactment always overrides the general enactment. So with that, I hand it over to Dr. Sethu Madhavan.
Yeah, thank you, Advocate Prem. You may be thinking that why I'm interested in section of IPC and all. I am fortunate that after my PhD from Calicut Regional Engineering College, I was a student at Government Law College for 1 year. So that is what my interest in this.
I was amazed the way you connected it. So I was just thinking, a technical person with this bit of information on fairness on legal is something amazing, sir.
Yeah. So thank you, Advocate Prem. And Dr. Varun, do you have something to answer to Prem's and Prasad's point of views? Dr. Varun?
What did you say? I didn't get it.
Do you want to respond to Advocate Prem and Mr. Prasad?
Yeah. They're very rightly put what their question was. I think I agree with what Prasad was saying totally, that there are many challenges which are still there. You have to keep on developing. This is a field which is absolutely new, and it's difficult to deal with, as I said. And even Advocate Kamath was also quite lucid about his arguments about. But I would say this is many times there are some sections like cyber crimes occur in which there is no specific section in IT Act. There was a section 66A which was set aside by Honorable Supreme Court, and many of these cases of cyberbullying and all these kind of things were dealt with by section 66A. Now that does not exist anymore. So what do? Then you go back to IPC. And then you find the relevant section there, 506 or other type of sections, intimidation and all that, so that this kind of crimes can be covered under that. And there are many sections. There is no IPC is such a wonderful act. It was enacted so many years back, but it is relevant even today. You can find some way to connect IPC to all these modern day crimes and the modern technology based crimes. It's something wonderful document that is anyway. So I would agree with him totally, but only in this fact that, as he said, it is not a complete act as yet. It was only for the commercial utilization of e-commerce and all that this IT Act was enacted. Few sections deal with cybercrime. It's time that we have a comprehensive Cybercrime Act for the country, because there's so many types of cybercrimes, and each has a different degree of effect and damage to the person and the property and the reputation, whatever, as Dr. Setu Madhavan was saying. So you have to be very careful and have a comprehensive kind of act which will cover all types of crime and also with different degrees of punishment, because some of them you cannot generalize and just put everything under 67 when obscenity. Now there are different degrees, 67A, 67B, all are there, but there are different types of, there is an admin problem. There's so many things. So I believe that there is a time that we should have a comprehensive Cybercrime Act for India, and I'm sure it will come soon. Till then, we will have to do with IT Act and IPC to back it up.
Yeah, in the meantime, I'm getting a question, and this question is a little technical question. Maybe I will request Mr. Prasad whether he can answer it. The question is, now the SSD devices are coming everywhere in laptop and everywhere. There is a general feeling that the data, once it is deleted, it will be very difficult to get it back to produce as a digital evidences. Mr. Prasad, you want to answer the question from the audience?
Yeah. Sir, actually, when we are handling with the digital media, generally it may be hard disk drives or it may be SSDs. So the entire evidences will be stored, whatever the live data is there, or maybe deleted data, or maybe formatted data, maybe protected data, maybe password protected driven data. So what generally the best forensic practices are, we are using some defined forensic tools, might be hardware tools like a Solo4 kind of, it may be Falcon tools, or maybe we are using software tools like a NKSFTK tools. There is a two specific methods were used by the forensic examiners or the cybercrime police stations. What they are called it as a imaging as well as the cloning technique. When we are applying the imaging and cloning, there is a possibilities of the taking the data from even though some scenarios we can able to retrieve the data even deleted or formatted, or it may be password or hidden data as well. There is a scenarios are there, but every time we can't get. So sometimes what the people are doing, like accused people or it may be technical savvy guys, they will put the BitLocker kind of password protections in their disks. Such scenarios, You can't go just like unplug your disk and you can send to the FSL. Then it takes a lot of time to retrieve the data because of password protection environment. So what we are suggesting to the IOs in the scene of crime, they have to go to the scene and they need to verify it. Is their disk, the system is password protected or maybe BitLocker driven or not? There is a tool name is called EDD tool. Like EDD tool, we are asking them to just go with the pen drive, just run it. If the system is on state, system is unlocked state, and you run it, and if it is a no password environment is there, then you can go for the either live imaging, if you mean dead imaging, or you can take the disk and send to FSL. If it is a system is a password protected, then we are recommending to the all the law enforcement, IOs, you just take the live imaging. This is how we can able to retrieve the data in this kind of scenarios. And that's the methods are there. Yeah.
Can I add one thing to this? I just want to add this that because most of the participants are all students and we are all, so there is no criminal. For their own knowledge, I would like to say this that data is mostly recoverable. Most of the times it is recoverable, and these digital footprints do not go away. Like you can hide your fingerprints, you can hide them, remove them. Modify them, but you cannot do it with the digital footprints. They will remain, and you have to just remove the layers and all that properly. Then you can get to it. So for a common user, I think they can assume that their digital footprints will not go, and data can be recovered. I can just recover. I can go back into one case which was many years back. See, that was then so many years back. I think more than 20 years. And now, what would be the situation? People understand. This was the case of the Parliament attack. Which took place in New Delhi many years. I don't know the exact year, but it was very long back. And in that, whoever carried, how was it solved? By one laptop. A laptop was recovered, which was actually broken by the perpetrators. They had broken the hard drive, and the CBI recovered it, and they recovered the data from that hard drive, and they found one photograph of a VIP pass kind of thing, and that VIP pass was then printed and put on that ambassador vehicle, which was used by the terrorists to get into the premises and then carry out the attack. So on basis of that, that person was found guilty and sentenced to death, and he was hanged also subsequently. So that was so many years back. See how much the technology must have progressed. So people can safely assume that your data is going to be recovered, your footprints are going to be found. So it is recoverable. That's my experience tells me. Unless there are very extreme cases, maybe not. But if proper procedures are followed and all that, then I think it is possible most of the times.
The extreme case is they would have put them good data structure like prim, garbage algorithm and all, then it will be slightly difficult to get data from the SSD hard disk. This is my experience. And again, from the Android devices. Of course, our university is taking similar type of projects and students are actively engaged. Any other question from the audience?
I would like to add here, sir, even as you mentioned, like a garbage algorithm, like even though like there is a technique which is called wiping technique. The wiping is a one method, like just your disk will be dumping it to the random hexadecimal values. So such a scenarios also there is a anti-forensic tools, handling of the anti-forensic methods. They try to recovering the data as exactly Dr. Varun sir was said. So still the footprints able to, it may be system generated data, it may be user created data. Both can be recoverable and it will be standing in front of the with the 65B environment.
Okay, any other question from the audience?
I can see one question if I can take it.
Yes.
It's with regard, it's put by, I think, Ms. Purnima Santosh.
Yes, Mr. Prem, please.
It says, on accord with law, how strong has the cyber laws have been regarded, or what are the steps taken by the law to ensure and enhance the security of women and children, especially when we hear a lot of cases on cyberbullying, cases which is being increasing day by day. Now, as far as I'll take it in two phases with regard to the state of Kerala. Of course, before that, the central government has allocated huge amounts of funds to all the states in India, because this was an aspect which was very seriously discussed in the parliament with regard to all those violent videos that had come up and are still coming up. You have this revenge porn stuff, which has now become more and more prominent. So having taken cognizance of all that, the lawmakers took a decision to create something which is on a national portal. So you have a national portal by where you can lodge your complaints. You could do it in two ways, either by giving out your true name, or you could do it anonymously as well. So you could please check on, it's available online. And with regard to Kerala, you have a project called Aparajita, which is made especially for complaints of women and children regarding online harassments, online crimes, victimization, etc. You also have something called the Pink Protection Project, which is especially for protecting women from crime against them. And these are some very helpful areas and facilities which has been provided by the governments of the center and the state. Please Google about it a bit. You'll have all the information because it's available in the domain. Thank you.
There is one question which I can see about academia's focus on which side their focus should be. I would recommend, as a police officer, I would only request that the ways to spread the message of cyber security, cyber awareness, what I was talking about, to the largest number of people, that would some kind of technological support for that. Like I thought I'm carrying out a project here in where I am. I have named it Project Psychops. Now, what we are trying to do is we call the teachers from Indore first, because this is where I am physically, and then train them in cyber security, and then expect that they should go back to their students and teach them. Because from the younger age, cyber security information, cyber security awareness training, whatever you call it, would stand them in good stead all through their lives. So this is what we are doing. This first in Indore, I got a website, www.projectpsychops.com. There with these teachers who we train, we call them Psychops ambassadors. They tell us how many children they have trained. So it's like a ripple effect. After I finish with my schools in Indore, then I will try to take on the schools, other schools around the state that we will do digitally, of course, virtually. And this is one project, but something better than this, if you can come up with, so that this message from people like me and others who can give the right message, a little bit of it, to let those children start thinking about cyber security, because people are not thinking. These children are all knowing much more than us, I'm sure of it, but then they do not know how to be securely doing what they are doing. So that would be my request, because I work in that field a lot out of my own interest. I'm not posted there ever, but I would request that something comes up in which we can disseminate this knowledge, this information to the children or to the youngsters in the largest possible manner, so that at least they start thinking. That would be a great help to this cyber security scenario in this country.
Definitely, we will take up this in the right spirit. And we have only a few more minutes. If no other question or no other comments, then we will close the session now.
Sir, I think Prem sir wants to add something to that.
Okay.
I would like to add one more point. So most of the students are there, from academicians, like BPRND or NCRB. They are putting so many problem statements with respect to development of the tools, and they are facing even kind of, you can able to propose it, and there is a projects and take up by cyber security, or Dr. Varun sir is right, or it may be cybercrime detection related algorithms, or it may be image processing or deepfakes related area, where you can create a problem statement. You take the problem statement, develop the proper solution, and you can submit to the law enforcement agencies, which is proposed by the BPRND as well as NCRB. Please utilize those platforms as academic projects development, and at the same time, there is a certification courses also happening in the law enforcement grounds. So academic can utilize those kind of platforms as well. And Varun sir, like Psychops is there, very massive awareness platform where people also can learn and they can expose their skills within the Psychops as well.
Yeah, Dr. Krishnasri, you want to conclude something? Or?
Mike, can you put on your mic, madam?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to thank all of you for such an informative session. I really sincerely would like to thank Dr. Varun Kapoor for giving us such a quick overview. I think this is not a small topic, like he mentioned. It's a very deep topic, and I can see that from Amrita's side, we are doing our little bit to be able to bring this awareness day in and day out. And this event itself is a kind of a testament to that effort that we are putting in. And also, we could not have done it with the overwhelming support of all of our speakers, all of our sponsors, etc. So much gratitude to all of them. But what we also see is Amrita is also about the philosophy of imparting ethics. And that's also a very important thing to do as we also teach them to be secure. How do they really transform their personal needs and, attending to their needs, to changing that, to also consider others' needs as well as they go forward with these skill sets that they learn. So that's one thing. I'd like to really thank Dr. Prasad and also Advocate Prem for your wonderful thoughts. I think deep insights that's coming from years and years of working in this area. We got a completely different perspective, from a law enforcement perspective and also technology perspective, what we can really do towards fighting cybercrime. Of course, I would like to also express my gratitude to Dr. Sethu Madhavan, who's also a very big expert in the area of cryptography, and he's done a lot of work for law enforcement and other entities in the country for, towards really improving our standards. And yesterday we heard from the MeitY Secretary, Shri Ajay Prakash Sani, how India has improved significantly in the cybersecurity index from 40 plus ranked 2-3 years ago to being in the top 10 today. So that has all happened because of all of your efforts and a significant amount of knowledge and awareness in the country. I would love to actually invite you personally to Amrita at some point of time, also to interact with the students and faculty at Amrita and share your wisdom, and also give us good directions on where this industry is going and where we should be also putting our effort in. With that, thank you again very much. I really appreciate your time and such short notice to really be with us here today. Thank you, sirs.